What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the channel. Today I would like to do something very different. You can probably tell by the hat I'm wearing here that we've got a special one, and this actually all got kickstarted a couple weeks ago when I finally got the opportunity to visit the last Blockbuster remaining in Bend, Oregon, and I have a friend that lives down there and it was his birthday, so we all went in there together as a group, and it was really wild walking back through a rental store for the first time in probably 15 plus years. It's really wild that it's been that long. Obviously, in the modern age with game downloading as well as streaming for our movies and TV, really the way of the rental store went a long time ago, and there are really just a couple of these last vestiges like the last Blockbuster in Bend, Oregon. You know, these little enclaves that maybe have a lot of rural residents that, you know, they managed to sustain a video store business, and it's pretty wild. I got this hat there. I wanted to have a memento from the occasion, but I also got me looking at my own collection and games in my set that actually have a lot of remnants from not only video stores, but also just retail store chains and the like. And a lot of these stickers and things that I feel like a lot of collectors would look at and think detracts from the mintiness of a game, but I actually embrace and I find just a fun relic of the past. So I've picked out a whole bunch here. We're going to go through them. I think this is going to be a really fun look back down memory lane, and I hope you guys enjoy it. So let's get into it. Now, considering the occasion, I feel like it's only fitting that we start with the Blockbuster games for my collection. Now, admittedly, they are kind of few. I don't have a ton of them for a couple reasons. Some of it just comes down to luck and finding the games you want from Blockbuster, right? It's a little easier said than done sometimes, but also I don't really actively seek out Blockbuster copies of games specifically. There is another retail rental store chain that we'll talk about later that I have focused quite a bit more heavily and have had more luck finding those games. But I did want to give Blockbuster a shake. You know, I did visit them occasionally over the years, even if I didn't have one in my hometown. And I want to start with this one. This is Bust a Move 2 Arcade Edition. And not only is this one interesting because it's a long box game, which it's funny to think that Blockbuster did at one point carry PS1 long boxes. It does have the Blockbuster sticker as well as the barcode on the back, and also the previewed 30-day guarantee sticker with the price tag of $16.99 on here. I just find it hilarious that they have a sticker for previewed, considering, you know, this is a video game and not a movie, but obviously they were using the same sort of stickers for all the excess stock they were trying to blow out at the time. And this is just a great game as well. I absolutely love all the Bust a Move games. One of my favorite puzzle games of all time. There are so many iterations of this. I own probably about a half dozen of them, probably more than I need, honestly, but such a fun little puzzle game and a cool copy to have from Blockbuster. And this next one might be a little bit familiar if you've seen our Austin Powers Unholy Trinity video, and this copy did make an appearance there. That is Austin Powers Pinball for the PS1. And this one tickles me not only because of the previously played sticker for $6.99, which is actually less than I had to pay to get this copy, but also the trade and save sticker from Game Rush at Blockbuster. Now again, I didn't grow up with Blockbuster in my town, and I don't know everything about their practices, especially when it came to gaming at the time, but I assume this was a arm of the company that was trying to compete with another company that we'll talk about here soon enough. But yeah, this is a very interesting release on the PS1 by Gotham Games and Wildfire Studios. And honestly, I did a marathon of the Austin Powers games, and I spent a decent amount of time playing this pinball game. It's not a great pinball game. It's kind of middle of the road. It's better than you probably expect. But if you want more information, check out that video. I'm just tickled to have a copy with all these crazy Blockbuster stickers on it. I also have a couple more 6th and 7th gen games with Destroy Humans and Oni Chambara Bikini Zombie Slayers here, and these I find fascinating because this must have been around the time that I guess maybe they were renting these cases out. It's hard to tell for sure because they do have the rental sticker with the barcode on it, but then also the previously played one. And this Destroy Humans one cracks me up because clearly it was like $19.99 at one point, and then they slapped another sticker on it to make it cheaper at $9.99. And these are just fun ones to have. Again, I would be very curious to know, did they end up around this time starting to rent the games games out in just regular old cases, because they did also have their special unique Blockbuster cases that had of course, the black plastic casing, as well as a much more kind of matted artwork protection layer that is almost like frosted. Very interesting. And this one is great because this is backyard wrestling. Don't try this at home. This is one I recently played to completion in the last couple weeks, and not only does this one crack me up because they put the barcode on the actual artwork that's not on the case, that's like underneath on the artwork layer, but also they have this Blockbuster like parental advisory sticker, and they doubled it up. There's one on the outside of the case as well as a smaller one on the artwork as well, and additionally there is some writing on the disc. So this is one of those things where I'm talking about, you know, when people are going to collect these games, I'm sure this probably has less value to a lot of people because it's more of a banged up copy, but for me, I think just the provenance of this Blockbuster copy makes it way more interesting than any regular old Xbox copy could possibly have. And speaking of provenance, this next game has probably more stuff plastered on it than any other game I have, and that's because it actually goes to the disc itself, and that is this copy of Aggressive Inline here. I love this one not only for the giant barcode sticker, but also there is a movie gallery price sticker here for $19.99, as well as a location zip code address bar on the top here. This one's from Chesapeake, Virginia, which just amazes me that I have this here on like the other side of the country. But also the fact that it does have the manual at least, but the disc itself has like an extra sticker attached to the top on the artwork layer, and presumably this had some sort of security device on it as well, and it says property of movie gallery. It's just wild how much effort they went through on some of these games to make sure they weren't stolen or, you know, smuggled out of the store. It's just wild to me. So movie gallery is one I do remember visiting a couple of times as well, so there's a little bit of nostalgia there. So it is very cool to have this copy. Now next up here, I'd like to dive into the rental store that I'm personally the most nostalgic for, and that's because I had this store in my hometown. I'd go there pretty much every week. My parents would take me, we'd rent movies, we'd rent games. That is Hollywood Video, and I freaking loved Hollywood Video, and I have a bunch of OG Xbox games, Hollywood Video style cases, because OG Xbox is what I grew up with. It's far and away what I remember renting the most from this store, and I've managed to acquire a number of these over the years because not only do I have a saved search on eBay for them, I keep an eye out for them, and they're really distinct because they have usually a very distinct Hollywood Video style spine. I do have Def Jam Fight for New York here, which is a recent acquisition. This is a pretty beefy pickup. For those that don't know, this is one of the more expensive games on the OG Xbox. I haven't really gotten around to really gritting my teeth into playing this one yet. This one has the full front artwork. They didn't always have that, which we'll get to here later, but almost always the spine was a custom printing, and they'd put the Hollywood Video barcode information sticker there, and then the back is actually custom as well, and you'd have controller mappings as well as a synopsis of the game and some other information, some legal mumbo jumbo. But I do find it interesting that Hollywood Video went through all this effort to make these special cases for their games. The discs inside really never had any significant markings or anything. You got the manual usually if you bought these after the fact as they were selling them out. Really interesting cases, and I have a bunch of them here. As you can see, not always did you get the full front artwork with Godzilla Destroy All Monsters Melee here. This one is really special, not only because it's a Hollywood Video rental case. This is one I remember renting back in the day. Also, this game is just freaking awesome. Probably one of the most cool Godzilla fighting games to have ever graced console gaming. I absolutely adore this game. It's phenomenal. But I also found it at Double Jump Video Games up in Vancouver, Washington. Shouts to Double Jump. They run a great store, and they had this one priced much lower than a normal copy of this would be. Not only because, unfortunately, it doesn't have the manual, but it is in this Hollywood Video case, so they pretty much consider it disc only, and that's kind of what I'm getting back to with the collector's market here. I feel like a lot of these are valued as lesser than regular standard copies of the game, but to me, this actually adds value because I rented this exact game from Hollywood Video. Now, it's not from the exact Hollywood Video that I rented it from, but honestly, close enough. It's the best I'm gonna get, and it just, my inner child is so happy that I have this. And we'll try to sort of rapid fire through the rest of these. I might have a lot to say about them, but we'll try to go quick. I do have Mortal Kombat Deception. This was a recent acquisition. I have not played this one yet. I did play Deadly Alliance on Xbox, and I wasn't a huge fan. I feel like Mortal Kombat is a bit hit or miss during the 6th gen here, but I do want to give this one a shot. I do also have Tenchu Return from Darkness, and again, this is one of those where they shrunk the actual front artwork down, and a lot of times they give you like a genre up at the top right here. This one says action. They also had like racing and sports. They didn't have a ton of genres, but I guess they felt some need to genretize these. It wasn't really that helpful when it came to actually renting, but I have noticed that they have that a lot of the time. Next up here, we got Terminator 3, The Redemption, and this one cracks me up not only for this big-ass Game Vault sticker here up at the top, but also the big previously played game sticker with the $9.99 price tag on here. Again, just the provenance of all these stickers is so great. Of course, you have the standard spine and back as well, and this is one I remember seeing in Hollywood Video, and for some reason, I didn't rent this one, even though I rented Dawn of Fate, which was a horrible game. In fact, if you're curious about Terminator games, I did a video on some of the earlier Terminator games, a lot of the 8 and 16-bit era games, as well as the DOS game, but I would like to cover more Terminator games. This one is actually really quite good, and I do recommend it. We'd love to cover this one at some point in the future, but definitely worth a grab. Also have Toejam and Earl 3 Mission to Earth, and this one is huge. Once again, you have the Game Vault sticker in the previously played game for $9.99 once again, but also this giant Hollywood Video sticker that says security device enclosed. And not only all of that, that's all great in and of itself, but this actually has an alternate artwork compared to the actual release of the game. And this is one also that is special for me because I rented this one back in the day from Hollywood Video. Again, this isn't going to be the exact copy I had, but to have one that is close enough. I rented this one so many times, my parents actually ended up buying it for me. I'm glad they did because this game is awesome. I think it's highly underrated. The Toejam and Earl franchise in general is just fantastic, and love to have this one in the collection as well. And then lastly here we got The Warriors, which I have not gotten to play yet. This is Rockstar published, and I've heard decent things about this one. Once again, got this from Double Jump. They priced it less than your average game because it's considered basically disc only. But again, to me, it's worth more because it's from Hollywood Video. It's like literally my childhood. And I'm sure some of the other based Hollywood Video enjoyers of the past are probably thinking, Kyle, aren't you forgetting about Game Crazy? Well, no, I'm not forgetting about Game Crazy, but I don't have a ton of games from Game Crazy. And that is partially just because I haven't found that many, but also because I actually didn't have a Game Crazy attached to my local Hollywood Video. And for those that aren't aware of what Game Crazy is, the way it worked essentially is a lot of Hollywood Video franchises would have Game Crazy attached to their store. So you'd have the main Hollywood Video store that covered all the movies and TV and usually had a game rental section. The Game Crazy would actually be attached to the store, divided by a wall, but usually in the same building. And Game Crazy was basically Hollywood Video's answer to GameStop. It was more of a retail location. You could trade games, you could buy games from these stores. And so really these are just regular old games with Game Crazy price stickers on them. I do have a few though. I have City Crisis on the PS2. This one apparently was handwritten on the sticker, $4.99, or the MVP price of $4.49, which MVP was their like membership rewards card. And this is a great game. In fact, I paid $2.99 at Double Jump for this one, but I think it's honestly worth more if we're talking about just sheer game quality. This is a really fun, basically arcade style helicopter firefighting sim. It's incredible. I really love this game a lot. I think it's supremely underrated, gets overlooked on PS2 bargain bins all the time. And fun fact about this one, my copy does have the spine name on the spine itself. Some copies don't actually have the name there. It'll just be blank. So if you're looking around at PS2 games and you see a blank spine, there's a good chance it's probably City Crisis. But yeah, dope game. Highly recommend that one. And I do also have some Platinum Hits games here. I've got Need for Speed Underground. This one is, once again, $4.99, $4.49. It's plastered in stickers too. You got the buy two, get one free, as well as the Game Crazy More for Trades guaranteed sticker here. They were really trying to compete with GameStop and EB at the time, and so they were pushing their brand on all these games. It's absolutely crazy. And I do have a couple of like family license games here. This one is Madagascar. This one, apparently they wanted $14.99 or $13.49 for it, which is kind of crazy considering I remember renting this game as a kid, actually from Movie Gallery, and beating this on a trip in a weekend. So you know the game's really short and really not very difficult when, as a kid, you could finish it in a weekend. Yeah, I played this on stream. It's like a 3-hour game, but honestly, pretty fun little licensed platformer by Toys for Bob, which is an incredible developer. Super underrated talents there. Fun game, honestly. And then not so fun is Finding Nemo. This is by Traveler's Tales, which I would expect better from them. This is probably one of their weakest efforts that I've played of theirs. Really just not very fun licensed game. Basically the antithesis of what Madagascar was. But yeah, I do have a few Game Crazy games, and I would definitely like to add more if I could. And considering Game Crazy was trying to compete with GameStop and EB Games, I feel like it's only fitting that we end this video with some games from GameStop as well as EB Games. And I actually did have an EB Games in my local mall growing up. Now, I must admit, I am a little younger, and by the time that I was frequenting the mall, the EB Games in my mall was pretty much a GameStop and all but just the name. For some reason, they held on to the EB Games name for quite a while, and I remember in my mall they had a GameStop as well as the EB Games, but they were pretty much like the same stores. Very fascinating. For those that don't know, GameStop actually bought the EB Games brand and the company in 2005, and they actually exchanged $1.44 billion at the time, which is absolutely wild to think about, especially nowadays with GameStop struggling as it is. But I do have a few games from EB Games, and these have the original like EB Games stickers, so I assume this was before the buyout. I do have Furious Karting here on the Xbox, which is a game I have covered previously in an OG Xbox games video. I actually quite like this game, even though it is kind of pedestrian and middle of the road. It's not a great racing game. It's very mid-2000s in its presentation and especially its soundtrack, but I just love the little EB Games sticker here for $12.99, as well as the trade in 3 games and get this game for free. Imagine that. It's not really free if you gotta throw 3 games at it, but I figured that's what, you know, they were going for something there. We also got Gladius here. This one cracks me up because it's got a new release sticker here, and you can tell this $29.99 sticker was not the first sticker that went on here. Clearly this one sat on store shelves for a while. I have not played this one, but it is by LucasArts, and it's backwards compatible on the newer Xboxes, and it looks like a pretty solid game. So Game Informer gave it a 9.25 out of 10. We also got Whiteout here, which I think is a super underrated game. And this one also tickles me because we've got a $49.99 price here, and then it's crossed out and then handwritten. It says $14.99. And this is actually published by Konami. This is very much like Arctic Thunder. Very arcade-centric snowmobile racing action with some tricking. Great, fantastic game. I played this one to completion on stream and absolutely loved it. I do also have a few GameStop stickered games. I think all of us remember these freaking stickers. They were everywhere for a time. I do have Shaun White's Snowboarding on PS2. This one apparently new was $19.99. Great for a budget release. You would be surprised at how good this game is. I actually played this one to completion on stream as well during a marathon. I absolutely loved this game. It's a lot more arcade-centric compared to maybe something like an Amped, like one of the early Amps, but I really enjoyed this one a lot. It actually took me quite pleasantly by surprise. I would actually recommend this one. It's very cheap now. We also have 18-Wheeler American Pro Trucker for the PS2, Sega Classic. This one co-published by Acclaim for some reason, like Crazy Taxi was on the PS2. I don't know why. These were originally Dreamcast releases that they kind of just quickly ported over to PS2. And this one cracks me up because they wanted $40 used for this, which is kind of ironic considering you can beat this game in less than an hour. I will say, I don't know, I've played this game so many times, it probably is worth $40 to me, but very quick game, great little fun arcade style truck racing game, super fun time. Highly recommend this one if you haven't checked it out, as well as the sequel King of Route 66, which we did cover in our Sega on PS2 video. Also have Speed Kings here on the OG Xbox. This one I actually picked up at PRGE a few years back for like less than $10. This is another one that just makes me laugh because they wanted $40 new for this. It's published by Acclaim, which makes you think it's probably not going to be that good, but honestly, this one's pretty fun. It's pretty stripped back. It's not a whole lot going on, but it has a great system in which you can slide under falling objects, you know, trucks passing by. They've got big pallets coming down that you just like glide under. It's very like Bond-like and super fun racing game here. And lastly, this one is probably the most interesting, even though it doesn't have any real stickers on it other than a movie ticket sticker here, is the copy of Ratatouille for OG Xbox. For those that don't know, this was a pretty late Xbox release. I want to say this was 2007, and obviously it came out on the 7th gen platforms of the time, the PS3, the Xbox 360. This game came out everywhere, but for some reason, the OG Xbox version was kept as a GameStop /EB Games exclusive, which you can tell by the banner underneath the Xbox banner here. And unfortunately, my copy does not have the free Ratatouille movie ticket, but I think just as a curio, as a time capsule of this specific moment where GameStop had bought EB, but they were still using the name, I just find it super fascinating. And this game is honestly a pretty fun little license tie-in, but honestly just sits in my collection as a memory of a bygone era. And there you have it, folks. Thank you so much for taking this trip down memory lane with me. I hope you enjoyed it. I would also love to hear down in the comments below some of your memories and experiences going to rental stores like Blockbuster, Hollywood Video, Movie Gallery, maybe your local mom and pop shop, whatever the case may be. Also the retail stores that we no longer have, like EB Games. It's an era that I do really cherish. You know, a lot of my childhood formative years were spent in a lot of these stores, taking the drive out to the mall, picking up that game you were excited for. It's really hard to replicate that nowadays, especially with the way things have gone digital. And even if you do want to buy physical games, it's really hard sometimes to get the game that you want. You know, allocations, print runs are a lot smaller than they used to be, and you might go to a place and they might not even have the game, or if they do, maybe they have one copy and it already sold. You know, it's hard nowadays to recapture that original essence, that original experience. So that is why these games are so important to me and why I collect them. I would also love to know, do you guys collect old rental store copies of games? Do you collect games with old retail store stickers? Let me know in the comments. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this one. I will see you all very soon. Until then, guys, take care. Peace out. Now, admittedly, they are kind of few. I don't have a ton of them for a couple reasons. Some of it just comes down to luck